Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Inside the Walls podcast. Alongside me is my partner in crime, Matt Patten, and I am Jim Meunier. Did we do an episode last week? Or was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah,
Yes.
we did one last week. Yeah, we did one last week.
Yes.
See, I do so many shows, man. I lose track if we did the episode last week. I do know that we have some pivotal matchups coming up this weekend, especially a matchup in Sioux City between Carolina and the Bandits, and a showdown up in Colorado between the Beef and the Spartans for home field advantages online for the Omaha Beef. We'll get that to the later show. But to speak on the first part, the first big matchup in Sioux City, we have the Carolina Cobras head coach Brendan Groen with us on today's episode to talk about what are the Carolina Cobras doing this week to set up maybe a massive showdown next week in Omaha for home field implications or upset possibilities. We'll figure out. So no further ado, let's bring in the head coach of the Carolina Cobras, Brendan Groen. Coach, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
First off, Coach, we're coming down to the end of the season. As we know in this industry, each week is a new adventure, new drama, new scenarios. And when you come down to the final weeks, you're like, okay, can we just focus on football? Now, Carolina's Cobra season's come down to 2 games, Sioux City and Omaha. Big pivotal matchups for the championship game, especially the big matchup this week against Sioux City, which they have implications too. Preparations for that game, how big is it for this organization?
I mean, it's huge. There's no secret that, we want to be in the championship, obviously. We control our own destiny. We go down to Sioux City and take care of business. We're in. That's our focus. I know you mentioned, in the question, about, the second game after that, with Omaha and the potential implications there. But we're not even looking at that right now. Our focus right now is on getting down to Sioux City and taking care of business. This is the path that we set, and the goal was to control our own destiny and make it to the championship. And then obviously we want to win it. But, we're not going to circumvent the process. All our focus is on Sioux City, what we have to do Saturday. And then once we take care of business, then we can start talking about, what's ahead of us after that.
You played Sioux City earlier this year in Greensboro, and it was kind of a one-sided affair by you guys in that matchup. But now you're going into the Tyson Event Center. They're pretty tough to play. Just ask Omaha. Omaha was put towards the wire. Omaha pulled out a win, but it wasn't an easy one. The Beef had to pull it out. How is it going to go into a hostile environment? You've coached in hostile environments. You've been in the Shark Tank. You've been in Albany, been in the past, so you know how hostile environments are. How is it going to take your group of guys going into Sioux City this time to try and pull off a win this weekend?
I think you said it best, right? We know we're going into a hostile environment. It's always hostile when you're on the road. I mean, even when we went to Idaho, it's not like they were happy to see us, right? So, it's always tough when you're on the road. And, we are obviously coming from the East Coast, going to the Midwest, far West. I'm not exactly sure what you classify Iowa. I just know it's far. And they play really well at home. And, I don't have any preconceived notions about this game based on, what happened when they came here. I mean, I'm going up against a coach that I think he's won 102 games now, 102, 103. I'm not exactly sure what the number is. They also have a new quarterback in Verlin Reed. They've brought in some pieces in their defensive backfield. They brought in, Ben Pistol, who's I think he's 4th all time in sacks in Sioux City history, something like that. So this isn't necessarily the same team from a roster perspective that we played when we played them April 28th here in Carolina. I expect them to be well prepared. Again, I got a lot of respect for Coach Strobing and what he's done in the indoor game. I just know we're going to be well prepared too. My guys really want it. We've kind of, hit our groove when it comes to preparation. I think that always takes some time, especially when you're putting a new roster together, and then you're adding pieces throughout the season. I've got some coaches that, are not new to football, but new to the indoor game. So, that takes time to gel. But I really like where we are right now, even with, the long layover that we had in between when we played Sioux City and then obviously playing Colorado last Saturday. I think this is just going to come down to who wants it more. I'm sure Coach Strobean's given the same speeches that I'm giving my team, which is, there's no tomorrow after this. Granted, there's scenarios where we would still be in it if God forbid we took a loss, but I don't even want to think about that. I don't even want to put us in that position where I'm relying on other teams to get us to where we want to go. I want us to take care of our destiny and do what we have to do, and that starts with the preparation and practice week, and we've been detailed all season, so that hasn't changed.
Speaking, you want to ask a question, Matt? Before you're muted,
I thought I
rookie.
was going to be the
Sorry,
one with Mike
sorry,
problems.
guys. I apologize. So, I got kids. No, but you talked, Coach, about how Sioux City has brought in a lot of new guys, but over the last couple of weeks, we've seen some signings from you guys as well. Looks like you guys are bringing back a few of those guys that were around last year and the last couple seasons. So, talk a little bit about what those additions will mean to your squad heading into this final playoff push.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, I think when you get into the grind of an NAL season, this isn't for the faint of heart. This is a hard journey for these guys, and there's a lot of wear and tear on bodies and stuff. And I think when you're in a playoff run, and for me, we've been in the playoffs since April 19th, as far as I'm concerned. So, I think you want to have a good mix of veterans who have kind of been through it before. And so, a lot of my signings that you've seen these last couple of weeks are just by design. We've also lost some veterans. We lost Joe Powell to the UFL. We lost Milton Williams to the AFL. And so when you lose veteran leadership like that, you try to replace it as best you can. And I've been really blessed to be able to bring in some guys that, I've coached before here in Carolina in 2020, 2021. You got to see Riley Stapleton this past week. He's been here before, knows the game, brings veteran presence to the locker room. We brought in Jay Hall, who played for Colorado at one point this season. He's from North Carolina, so it was nice to be able to bring him in once he became available. Obviously we know we traded for Kadarius Campbell. And I thought he gave a nice offset to James Summers. And then, look, we have the core that's here, that was here last year, and went through the same grind that we went through to get to Jacksonville. Obviously, it didn't turn out the way we wanted last year. So, it's good to have guys that have been through that process, but it didn't end the way they wanted it to. So we know what to identify to prevent that from repeating itself. And then it's good, to have guys that can guide our young talent. We got guys like Javon Hayes and David Brown Jr. that, are new to this, right? They've played football their whole lives, but maybe not necessarily in the indoor setting. And so I like to surround them with veterans that know the game, that they can lean on, especially in those moments of adversity and stuff like that. So I love the makeup of my team, guys. Obviously, every coach you bring on here is going to say the same thing. They want to win a championship. They want to do this. But there's just so many intangibles about this group that I feel make them special. And so that's where you see some of these late season sign-ins tying in, Matt. They have to fit in with the continuity and the chemistry of the already existing team. I don't want to mess with the culture. These guys fit the culture I'm building here.
Well, you were mentioning about veteran players. It sounds like from all the social media posts that he's been writing, it seems like this is the send off tour of Adam Smith, who's been a Cobra for many seasons. I see that he's about to have a baby, so congrats to Adam.
Yep.
He's a vet. I put him in positions that he's probably one of the better receivers or one of the top 5 receivers in all the indoor. Come at me, people. Prove me wrong. The guy returns a kick every single week. How does it having a guy like him, knowing that he could be playing his final, based on his post? I'm not saying he's going to announce his retirement. It seems like he's giving signs, but the last 2 games of an Adam Smith in a Cobra uniform, how do you think he's going to play for the remaining of the season, seeing that it could be his final days as a player for the
So,
Cobras?
you know, first off, as it relates to the remainder of the season, he's going to play lights out like he always does. I mean that's never going to change. I don't know a bad game in my 4 years with this organization that Adams actually had. he'll tell you different because he critiques himself so hard. But
Mhm.
if I'm being candid, Adam is probably the reason I have this head coaching job. Right? I was a special teams coach for years. Adam has consistently made me look good year after year. Between him and TC, I'd like to think they were the one of the parts of or one of the reasons why I won assistant coach of the year last year. I love special teams. It's such an important component to the game, and so having a guy like Adam Smith that can blow the roof off an arena at any moment with a kick return is huge. And then what he does in the receiving game. I mean, you guys see it week after week. He trains with Guy Myers in the off season, so their continuity and just trust of each other is immeasurable. Um, he doesn't have to retire. I think Adam has plenty of years ahead of him if he wanted to keep playing. And don't think that, assuming I'm here next year or wherever I'm at, don't think I'll make that phone call just to see where his head is at. But kudos to him for wanting to be a great husband and a dad, man. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, you all know the grind of the NAL season and kind of what you have to go through. And he's done it without fail the last several seasons. So the fact that he wants to move on and potentially retire, I'm going to respect that for as long as he forces me to. But I'll probably make him I'll make one or two phone calls in the off season, see where he's at, and see if we can make it work again. He's what I love about Adam. Not only is he a great player, but he's just a great guy, man. He's a high character athlete. That's the type of guy you want to coach and have represent our organization. So I love the kid, and I need him to ball out on Saturday, so we can continue to move to where we ultimately want to go. Send them out with hopefully a ring at the end of this season.
He's so good that the NAL stats have him having an interception for a touchdown last season. And he doesn't remember doing that last season. That's why
neither do I. I don't remember it either. And I know he played both ways, but I don't think that happened. But let him have it. Why not?
Sometimes those stats can be kind of iffy. But Coach, you mentioned your quarterback Guy Myers. Talk a little bit about his leadership and what that means to this squad this season.
We wouldn't be here without him, Matt. I mean that wholeheartedly. He is. From camp, man, you just knew, right? He took control of the position. I had 5 or 6 quarterbacks at camp. I didn't make it easy. But it took him about 2 days into camp to let everybody know that he was taking this job. And he just does it by the way he carries himself. His preparation is ridiculous. I get texts from him at all times of the night, and it's just awesome. Well, and he's been through a hard journey. If you get Guy on one of the shows, just ask him kind of what he's gone through to be here today, right? So, he went through several different college programs to kind of get to where somebody gave him a shot, and then he went to the USFL, I'm sorry, and that didn't necessarily work out. He had a couple of offers from the UFL, they didn't work out. Then he was here last year. And he it's to no fault of his own. Malik Henry played out of his mind last year, right? So, he couldn't get the reps that he wanted to prove himself. But him and I formulated a relationship last year. And I remember telling him last year, if I get a chance to, ever run a team, I'd like you to be my QB. And that was the initial plan. And then John DeFilippo from Memphis sent him an offer, right? So then he's gone, right? So now I go a completely different direction, right? And then, things kind of didn't work out there, for whatever reason. I don't know what they're looking at because, I see this kid light it up every weekend. But, their wrong evaluation is my reward, right? So then he comes back and he goes into camp and he kills it. And, every week, guys, if you look where we were week 1 and what he was doing week 1 and where he is now, looking back at the game this past Saturday, he gets better and better every single week. And look, I would love to think that I'd be able to re-sign him next year. I have a feeling after this season he's going to get offers that are way out of my budget, and he deserves it because he is He is absolutely everything you want in a quarterback. He has a great relationship with God. His mind is right. He prepares, like I said. He does all the work in the gym. I don't have one bad thing to say about this kid. The only thing that it drives me crazy is sometimes I wish he would stop jumping and hurdling and doing all that stuff on the goal line. And I can't repeat necessarily what I say to him when he comes back to me after doing that, because obviously I want him to preserve his body. But he'll do anything for our team, and the guys love him and will follow him anywhere. So that's probably the best description I could give of him. I'm so proud of that kid. He's come so far.
Yeah.
You're that coach. It's like, great play, never do that again.
I at least once a game, I tell him, please don't do that again. And he still hasn't listened. Here we are, 12 weeks later.
I get that from a fan perspective. I mean, I've watched Tommy a couple times here in Omaha, and it's like, what are you doing now?
What are you doing? Yeah,
great. That was great. So I get it. But Guy is a fun player to watch. I hadn't really seen him until last year or until this year, when he started playing for you guys full time. So, fun player to watch for you guys for sure.
Definitely.
So,
well, and his brother's doing pretty well in San Antonio. So, and he has connections with Carolina, and that household's busy on the weekends. It's like
there's
Carolina
athletes in that family. There's athletes.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
But Coach, to wrap it up here, this weekend you guys are traveling to Tyson Event Center. So let me guess, you guys are traveling all day tomorrow.
Yeah, we're flying. We had looked at a bunch of different ways to get there at one point. We even considered a bus, but that's just a long bus ride. So we were able to make it work, thankfully, and I'm excited about that. It's not the easiest place to get to, but we're getting there. And tomorrow will be a travel day. We'll all get in, late afternoon, get settled, and get ready for the game. I'm excited about it, man. I love watching Sioux City and Omaha. I love watching both fan bases, how much they get into the game, and that's what you want, right? At the end of the day, guys, yes, of course I want my team to come out on top and do everything that we set out to do, but I also want people to see exciting league games in venues that are packed and excited, and so I'm pumped up for that. I know Sioux City's going to be crazy, and I'm sure when we go down to Omaha, they're just going to welcome me with open arms. I'm sure it's going to just be wonderful, the wonderful things they say to me when I get there. So, but that's what it's all about, right? That's why we do this. And, for anybody that, is upset about the schedule changes, we took the playoffs away, like they're crazy. We're in the playoffs. The whole league's been in the playoffs for 4 weeks. I don't know how you could possibly complain about NAL action right now. Every game has been exciting for the last 3 to 4 weeks. So I'm pumped up, and I can't wait to get to Iowa and have a good game and battle it out, man.
Well, last week was an elimination game too for Colorado. They had to win to survive, and they didn't win, and boom, and you guys are up next, where you guys have 2 chances to clinch a berth, but Sioux City has a chance to get back into the race, where they go like, okay, it comes down to that final game in Omaha. So it's a little bit playoff action. The only team that's not in the playoffs is Omaha. They control. They're in the game no matter what. It just determines if they're hosting or not.
Right.
But that'll be determined within the next 2 games. And luckily for Omaha, that second game is in Omaha for you guys going there. Are you guys staying in the Iowa area? Are you going to practice there, then just go south to Omaha for next week? Or are you guys going back to Greensboro, then going back out?
No, we're going to come home after this game and practice here at home, and then we'll head out to Omaha, and then depending obviously how things go, we'll determine whether we stay out there or not. We got to take care of business here first before we make any future plans. So we're going to go to Sioux City and then come home. And I see I got a question on you. How do I feel about cowbells?
Sorry, I popped it up there like 4 times. No, I apologize.
I don't like cowbells. So Connor, by all means, you can leave your cowbells at home when I get there.
Coach,
I'm not a big fan of noise as it is. I'm almost 50. I've had 7 kids. It's been loud for about 20 years. So I appreciate quiet more than you could possibly imagine.
What? Coach, is there any other any up and coming events for Carolina, like next week or this week, the promotions Or are you doing anything for the team wise with the community?
Yeah, so it's the end of the year, and obviously with the road trips, we can, it's a little bit less time that we have here, but at the end of the year we always do kind of a season ticket holder, um, fan and team potluck, where we kind of have a dinner with the season ticket holders and obviously our loyal fans. So that'll get planned out in the next 2 weeks or so. We're looking at the schedule versus how we have to travel and stuff. So we'll do that. We're also going to do hopefully a youth football camp. Unfortunately, mid-season we had to suspend our youth league just because of opponents and fields and things like that. We didn't have the ideal arena schedule, so we want to make that up to the kids of the league. So we'll do a youth football camp, and anybody that was registered with the league gets, that kid gets to attend free, and then we'll open it up, to kids around. And it's really fun. Last year we did it with Coach Fuller, and the players will coach the different drills and be around the kids. We'll feed the kids and all that stuff, and they get to interact with the team. So we have those two events coming up, and then again, I don't want to jump ahead, but hopefully I throw in there some sort of an AL championship celebration. We're not gonna put the cart before the horse. We got to take care of business in Iowa first.
Well, Coach, before you came on the show, people want to know behind the scenes. Homeboy got some food, so we're holding up from him getting his food and get his grub on. So,
It's
Coach,
all good.
I appreciate you coming on the show. Safe travels tomorrow to Sioux City.
Yes, sir.
I can't show any bias, so good luck.
I know you're a Jacksonville fan anyway, so it's okay.
Don't remind me. We're like, go team. Yay. That's how the season is so far for me.
You're all going to get it right. It's a tough transition to the IFL. I do want to say, I know we talked about it, backstage, but I'm going to say it again live. I appreciate everything that you guys do for the league, your representation of the league and the way you present it. I know you do some things in cooperation with Ducon at Arena Football Statement, stuff like that. You guys just do a really good job in an industry that gets a bad rap for things, and where they highlight the negative more than the positive. You guys are definitely a positive representation of the league. So on behalf of all of us, thank you very much. I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, thank you for that, Coach. But yeah, good luck, good travels or safe travels this weekend, and may the best team win.
Yes, sir. And I'll see you in 2 weeks, Matt, right?
Yes, sir. I'll make sure I come say hi.
All right, man. See you guys soon.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good day.
That was head coach Brandon Negron of your Carolina Cobras, and of course, the GOAT himself makes an appearance. No, GOAT. No, you do a great job, sir. By the way, Ducon, my bad. I forgot. I'll be posting your stuff tomorrow. That's my bad. Been kind of busy on my end dealing with AC problems here. I have no AC. I have 3 fans on me right now, and I'm still sweating. Bad time to have your AC go out in the middle of the summertime, or we'll start getting summertime here in the state of Florida. So, to the listeners, to the followers, please follow us on all social media platforms at NWalsPod, at NationalArenaLeague.com, or on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. There might be a TikTok out there that I don't have access to, but there was one. So if you see us on TikTok, let me know. there could be a rogue Inside the Walls podcast TikTok out there. But again, appreciate it. So let's get into the big ordeal of this weekend, folks. There are some big implications this week in the NAL, and that is, here's the standings from week 11. As you could tell, both Idaho and the Colorado have been mathematically eliminated for the remainder of the season, as it is now a 3-team race. So basically, this weekend's matchup between the Carolina Cobras and the Sioux City Bandits is a play-in game type of scenario. What are the scenarios? Here we go. Omaha is already in. They've already clinched their position in the championship game. If they win this weekend, they will wrap up home field advantage in the slaughterhouse. Carolina just has to win. If Carolina wins, they're in. But at the same time, if they win and Omaha slips up, home field advantage will come down to next week's game. Sioux City needs to win this weekend and needs their arch rival to win next weekend for them to have the rematch in 2 weeks in Omaha for the championship game. If Sioux City wins this week, Carolina is still alive, but it comes down to next week's game. But if Sioux City wins this week, Omaha clinches home field advantage for the championship game. And speaking of Omaha, our boy Matt Patten, yeah, you're the Omaha guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking to the dude over here. Actually, there's no one here. You're on that side of the screen, but you guys have a big matchup against a team in Colorado who has improved this season tremendously. They're that type of team. Like, you're like, oh man, I like our schedule. Like, ooh, is this that type of team? Do you want to rest players or play full 100%? But we also saw Omaha, do that miraculous comeback against Sioux City. That was at one point looked like the streak was coming to the end. There wasn't nobody come down that ramp to save the day until Tommy Armstrong, after that 2 count, lifted his shoulders off the mat and led the team to a victory. You guys are going to Colorado. Colorado is, again, a team I think Carolina didn't want any of a couple weeks ago. Must have proved. Colorado reminds me of San Antonio Gunslingers from 2 years ago. They just ran out of games. They're on the hot streak. They just ran out of the games to catch up. And if this was a 3-team or a 4-team playoff, Colorado is in the mix. Because I think, and if it was, that's a team you don't want to play in the playoffs because they're very, very sneaky good. They're getting better. They're home. I think it's their final. I think they played. No, I think this is their final home game of the season. But they got Omaha coming to town, who the last couple of road games Omaha's been on, I don't know. Can Colorado snag a victory from a game that Omaha should win? What's the feeling in Omaha there, Matt? Because you're a fan, you're a part of the association. I guarantee Ricky's on here. I just saw a fan and Tommy Trust. Tommy's one of the best quarterbacks in this industry. Honestly, he's the type of guy, if he really wanted to, he could be in the UFL and probably starting for one of the teams. I think he's better than half the quarterbacks in the UFL. So what do you think is going on in the Omaha this week, especially with a pivotal matchup? A lot of on the line for you guys. You win, you wrap up home field, and that means next week's game is almost meaningless. Even though as a coach, you don't want to think that mentality. You guys are trying to be like Roman Reigns, trying to keep the streak going and all. But next week may not be a big deal, but at the same time, going into the championship game undefeated does sound better than 7-1, 8-1, whatever. Yeah. That 0 in that second column is pretty impressive, no matter what year it is.
Yeah, Connor Hickman Podney, one of our big longtime Beef fans here, he said it best, and I agree with it 100%. In Tommy, we trust. Not just that, but I know this coaching staff, and I know that Coach Tatum, I know that Coach Knight, that they're going to have these guys ready to go, and there's no sense of them going in there and them being, oh, we're going to go in there and we're going to beat this team, and by 35, whatever. They may say that, they may come out and talk about that. I've never heard them say that in the last week or so, but at the end of the day, they're going to be focused and locked in my opinion. They know what's on the line. That streak means a lot to those guys. They're not out there openly posting about it on social media and bringing it up every second. Guys like me, guys like Matt Clark, our Omaha Beef Insider, are the ones bringing that up, but I know it means a lot to those guys, because when you talk to them about it, you can just see it in their eyes and you can see it in their expressions, and that streak means a lot. And I can't see a scenario where they're not ready to go. Now, I say that knowing that every game this season, with the exception of, I believe, 2, I was talking with someone on Monday night, I think every game except for maybe 2 this season, the Beef have actually been trailing going into the fourth quarter. So you look at that and you think about how they have won. And last year we won a lot of our games by 30, 35, multiple 40 points, whatever. And this year it's been a lot closer. And as a fan, it's been a lot more fun. It's been a lot more, not that beating people bad isn't fun, because it is, but at the end of the day, like I said, I think these guys are going to be locked in. Our defense with Rudy Gooney and Rodell Rockman, and Terrence Jackson and some of those guys, they're going to all be ready to go on Saturday night. And I don't see a scenario where these guys let up. And Coach Tatum, to me, isn't the kind of coach that's going to sit guys. He just isn't.
Well, true, and I guarantee, even though this game may be a game in which Colorado has nothing really to fight for, their quarterback is literally, I think, you can say he could be leading the MVP case. The second half of the season, he's been tremendous. He leads the league in passing yards, as Jason Whitaker, ladies and gentlemen, for the Colorado Spartans. He leads the league in passing yards, leads the league in passing yards per game, also touchdown passes. Again, he also has receivers that Stephen Nebel came out. He was solid earlier, then he started picking up, and now he's second in the league right behind Tyler Henson. But you look at these receivers that Colorado has. You got Stephen Nebel. You have Dante, I think, Redcheck. I think I may pronounce his name wrong. I think that's another guy that Dukon gets his name wrong. I do apologize. Correct me on that. And I want to say it's Hayes or Kenneth Hayes or Kylie Hayes. There we go. 3 receivers earlier in the year that we mentioned that could be threats. As the season progressed, they went through their bumps and bruises early against Carolinas, against the Sioux Cities and Omahas of the world. And then the second time around, they have played 3-folds better than they did in the first half of the season. Like I mentioned earlier, I think they just ran out of the games. If we had a 16-game season and we had to, push for a 14 playoff, Colorado's that type of team. You're like, oh, they're getting hot at the right time. That's a team you do not want to face. But that early season, slip-ups really affected, I think, Colorado's ability to really catch ground in the second half of the season. They're a type of organization where you look into 2025, like that's a team you got to keep an eye on to making that next step. That's one thing I like about Coach Shaw. He did in San Antonio in his first season, where the first 8 weeks it was like, well, he's not going to. It doesn't look like he's getting anything situated. He looks like he's run behind, but in that second half of the season, the team is a completely different organization. In the final 8 games, I think they went 4-2, 5-3, or something like that. 2 years ago in the NAL, and the following year they were a playoff team in the NAL. So Coach Shaw, new organization, they have a good fan base. Like Colorado, I think, has something there. Fortunately, the games don't. This game really doesn't. Again, it doesn't matter for Colorado. They win. They slow down. They beat the streak. They'll be the team that recognizes beat the streak. But I think this is type of almost like a trap game for Omaha, because you have Carolina next week, and if Omaha overlooks Colorado for Carolina, that could be a spell of a disaster. Omaha needs to come out this week, take care of business, get the win, wrap up home field, and who cares about next week? Well, they will, but still, Colorado's that team. I look at them and I go, Whitaker has impressed me from about week 4 on. That offense has looked 10 times better than what it did earlier in the year, where they looked like they couldn't get the ball past midfield. Now they're passing yards, touchdowns. They're scoring points. They found something to Colorado, and that all comes down to Whitaker and his receivers, and of course, Coach Shaw sticking with the formula early in the season, not blowing it up. And now you look at that organization completely 180 from week 1 to where they are now, even though, again, they're running out of the games and they've been mathematically eliminated, but they're going to be a threat to Omaha. I don't think if Omaha goes in there thinking this is going to be an easy W, they could be walking out with a loss. That's how Colorado is. They almost did that to Carolina just a couple days ago.
Yeah. I look at Carolina or Colorado's defense. They got Justin Castell, who leads the league in tackles. And then Jarvis Thompson, who's listed as a defensive back on their roster, is actually second in the league in tackles, tied with Simmons from Carolina, and he's third in the league, or tied for third in the league in interceptions. And then you've also got Sam Hammonds and Corey Henry, who are both D linemen for Colorado, who are tied for second in sacks with Rodell Rockman from Beef. But, their defense is strong and solid. And we saw a few weeks ago when they came into Omaha that they kind of, for a little bit of that game, actually had our number. You know what I mean? Like Omaha struggled moving the ball a little bit. They struggled getting the ball into the end zone. Finally, we figured it out. But, I agree with what Connor posted a little bit ago when he said Colorado's will be a dangerous team next year. I think they're a dangerous team this weekend. I really do. I'm not selling them short by any means. I expect this to be a very, very good ball game. I expect it to be, closer than people maybe expect it to be. But I do ultimately see Omaha just having a little bit more a talent and a little bit more in the tank to pull off the victory. That streak means a lot. That streak means a lot to these guys. And I know, like, being the team to break that streak probably means a lot to any team that's playing Omaha right now. But that streak, it means a lot to this Omaha Beef team.
Well, you're talking about streaks, and there's been great streaks in all professional sports. Sometimes when streaks get broken, it's by an organization or a team that you least expected. You always thought about, who's going to break the streak against the Patriots? Well, no one thought it was going to be the New York Giants in the Super Bowl. Patriots were heavy favorites that year. No one, like the team that was supposed to beat the Patriots that year, got demolished in the second round of the playoffs by the Patriots. Everyone thought it was going to be the Colts that year. They thought it was going to be Peyton Manning and the Colts, and Brady just mopped the floor with them. And then no one gave Eli Manning and the miracle catch the opportunity. And there are also other streaks, like the Los Angeles Lakers were trying to go for a four-peat. And they were heavy favorites in the NBA playoffs, and they get I think they lost in 5 games to the Detroit Pistons that year in the NBA Finals. So streaks are meant to be broken. But the problem is once that number starts growing, you're about past. You have to be over 100, 700 days now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You have to be.
We're getting close to 800. Yeah. I don't have the number off the top of my head. I just don't. But yeah, we're getting close to 800.
See, yeah, that's when it becomes like, for me as a fan, I look at it, I go, okay, this is just becoming outrageously, irritating. Like, you guys still win. You're constantly winning. And that number gets big because you look back and go, okay, let's go back in the history of the indoor arena game. How what are the longest streaks ever? And you know how hard that is to find? By the way, very hard. The longest streak that I found, winning streak, in the NAL was the Jacksonville Sharks. 294 days. That was it. That's how long it was. And that's because they went undefeated one regular season after they lost in the playoffs, and then they won the championship. Or they lost in week 19 or like that. It was like a ridiculous short. Now look at you at 7 something. Like, come on, make it fair, man. Make a competition. Come on. Everybody wants drama. Omaha's not making it fun. I know you're having fun because you guys are winning. So I completely understand that. But then again, ladies and gentlemen, I know we didn't want. I've come to remember we did do a show last week. We had Sioux City on last week. Next week, depending on how the games go this weekend, my goal next week, if it is Carolina and Omaha to determine who hosts home fields, maybe we'll try to get quarterback versus quarterback as guests next week. Have Guy Myers and Tommy Armstrong, or some defensive players. Now, if Sioux City wins and Omaha wins, we'll get someone from Omaha because it's a bigger game for Omaha. So depending on the outcomes this week, we will get that. Or should we go out west? It gives, share some light with the Colorado Spartans this year, how their second half of the season has been a complete turnaround, especially get Jason Whitaker on here, potentially the MVP of the league on next episode. You know what? As people who host this show and the people who follow us on the network and have been with us for all year, tell us who you want us to interview. Any player, any team, any coach. Let us know. This is your time. Next week is the final regular week of the regular season, of the season. Because the championship weekend is going to be consisting some content for both teams, but this is your week. This is for the fans. We're for the people. Tell us who you want us to get on the show, and we will do it. We'll try. Remember, traveling is some issues for these players during the week, so let us know early so we can get a hang of these players, hold of these players, so they get on the show. Matt, any final words, sir? Been on for 45 minutes.
No, this is if you have, like Coach Negron said, if you have a problem with the last couple of weeks of the National Arena League, if you have a problem with what we're about to see this weekend as far as games go, then you don't like indoor football, in my opinion. You don't like arena football, because these games are going to be great. They're going to be fast-paced. They're going to be intense. And I can promise you that you're not going to want to miss them, because anything can happen. And I truly mean that. Yes, I'm an Omaha fan, but like, Colorado's got a solid team. And I fully expect Colorado to come out there and play with everything they have, regardless of being eliminated. That Sioux City, Carolina game is very intriguing to me, intriguing enough that I actually am considering making that hour-and-a-half road trip up I-29 to check that out. But it's going to be a great weekend, and that's going to bleed right into next weekend. I can't wait for the last 3 weeks of the National Arena League season.
Well, big games again. Let's look at that. Let's look at the scenarios again for you fans who are watching us or joining late. This is what needs to happen. Sioux City needs to win this weekend and needs help next weekend for their arch rivals, for Omaha to beat Carolina, for them to get into the championship game. Carolina wins this week in Sioux City. They are in. They'll lock up the final spot. And if Omaha wins, they clinched home field advantage. If they lose and Carolina wins, next week's game is even bigger. So here are the scenarios for the second to final week of the regular season, and next week will be the final week of the season. And then there could be 3 teams still alive next week for the NAL championship game. So hopefully everyone's having a blessed day. Hopefully everyone had a blessed Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you get to your games, travel safe. If you're in Omaha, I know in a couple of weeks you might have a championship game to attend, and you might have 8 different colleges arrive in your area for Omaha for the NCAA baseball championship. One my alma mater is in the tournament. We're a national seed, so we have a good chance of making to Omaha. Does that make Jim make appearance in Omaha? Maybe. That's if my connections in Tallahassee are still as strong as I think they are. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the show. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms at NWallsPod, NationalArenaLeague.com. Thank you to the commissioner of the NAL. Thank you to Steven Shatola, the media director of the NAL, for allowing us to do this show for you guys. Remember, follow us on all platforms. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Rumble. We're on TikTok, but we're out there, just can't find a login. So if you see a rogue TikTok inside the walls, notify me or Matt so we can, reel it back in and get it, under control. No, I'm serious. There's a rogue inside the walls TikTok out there. I did create it. I just forgot the passwords. That's me. It's my bad. So anyway,
I feel like you can reset that somehow.
I tried.
Okay.
And algorithms, anyways. I'm just waiting for them to reply the email back. It's been a couple of days. I need to get checked. Again, remember, check your emails, ladies and gentlemen. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I really want to say thank you again. Appreciate it. Come back next week. Remember, you decide who we get on the show next week for the final week of the regular season as we get one step closer to the championship game. And oh, by the way, you think we're going to be done after the championship game? No. We'll be back after that and weeks after that, because Inside the Walls podcast, Inside the Walls network, is a network for indoor arena football. And we all know the off season is just as entertaining as the final weeks towards the playoffs and the championship games are. So we'll be here no matter what happens in 3 weeks. With that, that's Matt Patten. I'm Jim Meunier. It's been episode 146 of Inside the Walls podcast. We'll see you guys same time next week. Enjoy your evening. Be safe. God bless.